Have you ever had a dream dress? The one that you've spent years thinking about recreating? For me, that dress was the red dress Satine wears in Moulin Rouge. I've dreamed about it since I was a kid, and this year I decided it was mine. Hello and welcome to Bookhoarding by Bianca. Sometimes I talk about books, but today I'm talking about costumes. If you want to hear more about my love of books and costumes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. So today I'm talking about my most recent build of the red dress from 2001's Moulin Rouge. I have dreamed about this costume since I was a kid. I was maybe 12 when it hit theaters, and that was probably my first dress crush, my first costume crush, where I was like, I love this and I want to wear this one day. This red dress that Nicole Kidman wears was the epitome of everything I wanted to be as a teenager, right? Like, it was sassy, it was confident, it was flawless. She looked great singing with Ewan McGregor during the Elephant Love medley. And like, maybe I was a little biased because at the time I was like peak crush for Ewan McGregor, and anything that would make Ewan McGregor have like baby doe eyes at me, I think would have been the dress I wanted. I sat on this dream dress for 20 years, and ahead of the 20th anniversary this year, earlier in May and June, I decided to finally make this dress. I'd been gifted some red satin a few years back, and I was like, this is what this is going to be for, but I didn't know then that I was going to finally do it. I thought in my head, I've got to do this dress. I've been gifted red satin. I can't not do the red dress. But it wasn't until the anniversary is coming up that I'm like, I've got to do it now. Like, I've just got to do this thing. And I'll say, too, that when I was gifted this fabric, even though I knew, like, this clearly has to be for my dream dress, this is, been waiting for this to happen, I also knew at the time that my skills were not ready to make the dress, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't skilled enough in making certain garments and structured things to be able to confidently make that without needing a ton of help or massive revisions. But I kept on to the fabric, and I was like, I'm going to do this when I feel the time is right. And like this year, I was just like, you know what? I've done a lot of things to build up my skills, and I think I'm there. I think I'm ready to do it. And this time I did something a little different. So I decided to try to do a little bit of a behind the scenes bloggy type thing to show you how I put this together. So I hope this is a little bit educational and a little bit entertaining. Mostly, I really hope it gives you the confidence to make that dress that you've always been thinking about, or whatever garment it is that you've been dreaming about wearing or making this whole time. If you're here because you want to make your own red dress, thank you. I hope this is helpful, and you should be able to find a blog post in the linkage in the description or comments that will help you, because I actually wrote a whole blog too about the supplies that I used with any of my drawings or any of research I used to make this dress. So hopefully that's useful if you are here to make this dress. I will say that this is not 100% screen accurate. This was made for me based on my body and the materials I have. I do not look like Nicole Kidman. I am much shorter, but I used what I had and the skills I had to make my dress. That being said, the supplies and the resources that I have should help you if you want to strive for the 100% screen accurate dress. Okay, it's day one of my Moulin Rouge dress build, my red dress build, and I'm just gonna go for a muslin for the bodice part first. The skirt already have a pattern that's gonna work perfectly for that, so I don't need to worry too much except for the bow. So today it's bodice muslin. I'm gonna be trying to Frankenstein two patterns together. So Frankensteining is what I call when you take two different patterns or multiple patterns and use pieces of those to make your piece that you need, or your attire that you need. So I am going to be using the Black Snail 1880s, 1890s pattern. It's the bodice pattern. The back of the bodice is perfect. I did little drawings of the seams on the actual Moulin Rouge red dress that Satine wears. So the back is perfect, except for the fact that I will need to split it down the middle and make those the lacings. These are front closing. So because of that, I will need to also come up with a new front. I've decided to Frankenstein this with the truly Victorian cuirass. They have overlap. Like this is 1880s to 1890s bodice, and this is 1885 cuirass. So the big thing for this is that I feel like this already has on the seams I need. And it goes toward the silhouette that I need. I'll still need to do a mock-up and more with it, but I feel like the front gives me a lot more to work with as far as just like where the seams already exist and where the neckline is, because the neckline for this is really low and I feel like I'd rather cut into a neckline that's full than have to work my way up and build into it. So that's my theory. So I'm using two patterns, Black Snail and Truly Victorian, to put this together. And I'm wearing my Victorian corset, the corset that I've been wearing under the dress itself when I wear it, although it is lightly boned. So we'll see, once I start getting into it, we'll see how much boning I can put into the actual bodice itself and if I'll need a corset. But I figure for now, getting my silhouette right so that the silhouette of the unboned muslin can be, you know, spot on will be a good first step. For this, I actually have pieces cut out already from the last time I did muslin of the cuirass. So I keep all of my muslin pieces together. Especially if I've made mods to fit me, I keep them with the pattern so that I can then use them again the next time. So it's perfect. I can just measure this because it's not going to be as long as the cuirass. So I just need to measure out where I need to cut off and I am ready to go. So muslin day pro tips. Have your patterns, have your muslin ready, and your muslin doesn't have to be muslin fabric. It could be anything that is extra fabric laying around. I might be using non-muslin for my muslin, we'll see. And keep your muslins, if you've made them spot on to fit you, if they're still usable, keep them, label the pieces so that you know what goes where. I usually don't use heat erase pens for my muslins because who knows what could happen. You might be ironing it in the process of making the muslin. So I just use real pens. You can see I have everything from Sharpie to mark, these are all the lefts, these are all the rights, to pen to mark the seam allowance and what actual piece this is. This says front right, this says front left. And then of course like marking the other pieces of this, like where the notches where they're gonna line up and the other pieces of the pattern that are important. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so update. I've made a mock-up, and what I did was I magically cut out pieces and I magically put them together, and what you have here is my mock-up, and you can see here that I have pinned gathers in to be the seams that I will need for the sateen bodice. One side's a lot better and looks better than the other. Could I have draped this? Probably. I've never really draped something like this before, but it's definitely a lesson in working with fabric and like working with the pieces that I used. The back needed more modification than I thought. Once I really looked at what the back pieces were and where they laid, compared to the illustration on the pattern, compared to the extant garment that I have a bunch of photos of. So I've added some pins in here to create the new lines for this. So what am I going to do now? I have a mock-up. I'll try it on in a second so you can see how it looks. And I'm going to go from there. I'm going to cut out the pieces along the lines that they need to be made on. And when I'm comfortable with that, after I've gotten comfy with like where the lines are for the waist, I will proceed then to cut out the new pieces and maybe even make another mock-up if I feel like I need it, but also I might progress just into cutting out from the fabric itself because a little chaotic that way. I'm just going to take it off slowly because it has pins in it. Okay, this is now day 2 of my sateen build, and I have cut out all of my red pieces. I decided to self-line with the red, so that means that the outside's going to be the red satin and the inside will be red satin, but it's a little flimsy, so I've come up with a solution as far as lining, because I do need to install some boning of some kind, and I do need to have some lining to make it a little sturdier. And I have decided to use something that someone gifted me in my stash, which is this wonderful fabric that has red dresses on it, and I think it's cute. I think it's perfect. I know that like for couture gowns, like you would have been using something a little fancier. I just like was going through my stash looking for some organza and looking for something a little sturdier, and I thought, you know, this might not be the most perfect thing, but I think it's perfect as far as like the design couldn't be cuter and more relevant to this dress. So I'm gonna use this for the bodice lining, sandwiched between the 2 satin layers, and hopefully that'll be enough to keep it a little sturdier with the boning, but also not too loose and too thick. So we'll see. I did a little bit of like test looking how it felt between some layers of satin, and it looked fine to me. It looked a little bit, you know, again, sturdier, but we'll see how it turns out. I think this is an adorable way though to line this garment and keep it have like the inside joke, because it'll all be hidden theoretically. So at this point I got a little busy and didn't touch this project until Memorial Day weekend when I had some time off. It just sat on my second table, aka my ironing board, until I was off of work and had time to actually work on this. So that weekend I woke up on Saturday and pretty much just sewed and slept and sometimes ate. And Monday morning was when I got it together and was done. I didn't do a ton of blogs at this time because Saturday morning my phone actually hit like the memory capacity, and instead of pausing to try to work through that and deal with that for 4 hours, I decided to just keep sewing. It's a learning lesson. Like next time I'll make sure that all my memory cards and batteries and all the things are charged and ready. This time I was just like, I just want to get this done, and I'm going to prioritize getting this done on a deadline versus rushing to get everything done in like 2 days versus 3. So on day 3 I sewed like the wind. Like that's all I did. I 100% just spent all of my time that morning reminding myself what pieces were what, and then starting to sew, and I think I actually sewed 2 wrong pieces together right off the bat, and then immediately paused and reorganized everything to make doubly sure that I had everything in place, because I'd set it down for like weeks and didn't remember what went where. So I sewed that red dress fabric to a layer of the actual red satin, and that was going to be the side that faced inside. But then after I spent a lot of time actually looking at it and putting it on and trying it on, I thought it actually looked better with that subtle lining of the red dress print. So that's what I ended up using as the exterior. Also on day 3, I used the entire living room floor to cut out the skirt. And I legit thought that I couldn't do another thing at that point in the night, but I did. I prevailed. I got that skirt done. It was amazing, and I 100% took a ton of Advil before going to bed that night. So then Sunday, that was day 4 of building this dress, I went back to work immediately when I got up in the morning. I finished up the bodice and the skirt adjustments that morning, and then I hand basted the entire skirt hem because I just didn't want to risk it on the machine, and I definitely need to go back and re-sew that so it's a little bit neater and finished as a hem. At that point, I finally got it into a place to try it all on, and it was really exciting but terrifying because I still saw like how much I needed to do, but like trying it on even in pieces felt like I'd finally made progress, like it was real. I also made the little bustle tail bow thing, and I lined it. I didn't have great interfacing for the whole thing, but I made it work, and it looks like this Looney Tunes, right? Like, doesn't it look like Gossamer? Am I alone in this? On day 5, which was Monday, I guess, I sewed the lining to the bodice, and then I did the grommets, and it was only then, once I put it on, with the lining that I realized something wasn't working. The lining just was not right, and it was like the third time I've ever done lining for something, so I just made the executive decision to cut it out, and I will hand finish the inside seams later, but like at that point I was just like, I can't cut a whole other lining out and do this, I've just got to go with it. And then I ate a burrito and took some photos. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been fun and different. I know I don't usually do blog things, but let me know if you do like watching the process. This was a dream dress for me, and it's not 100% screen accurate, but it's mine and it works for me and it works for my body. And you know, I totally feel like I could be confident enough to woo some nerdy lightsaber wielding man on top of an elephant, or maybe just at a museum. Thank you again. If you would like to read all the other details about how I put this together, again, I have a blog that I wrote. Please check out the link in the description or the first comments. I want to thank everybody on my Patreon for supporting my work. They were watching all my progress throughout and totally supporting this while I was being wild and whimsical and wanting to do this randomly at the last minute. If you'd like to support work like this or other things that I do, or see previews or behind the scene things, definitely check it out. The link is in my description. Patrons at all tiers get access to my special Discord server, and patrons at the Lizzie Bennett tier and above get special shout outs at the end of these videos, like right now. Please, please, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your fellow Moulin Rouge fans. Thank you.